Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back for another group call. I'm with Darko Velcek again. Last call we spoke about just hydration plasma. So if you haven't seen that, you can watch it on my YouTube. But today we're going to be talking about the diet, what the optimal diet is, what foods that you should not be eating, what foods you should be eating. And yeah, we're going to let Darko take it away now.
Okay, well, welcome everyone or everybody, and let's try to make it simple, as I like to always put it. So, when we talk about diet for humans, we have to understand one thing that we are omnivore. But when we talk about omnivore, it's a huge scope of animals with different affinities to food. When we talk to strict carnivore or strict herbivores, it's a fairly small group of animals. Strict carnivores are basically your cats, and strict herbivores are your ruminants, which are gazelles, deer, cow, sheep, whatever. And then in between is this huge group of so-called omnivores. But these omnivores, they have some of them have diet more leaning towards plants, and some of them have diet leaning more towards meat. For example, bear and wolf lean to meat, but they are omnivores because bear or wolf they will eat fruit occasionally, more so than wolf. But I saw dogs eating avocado. Dog is like a wolf. So I believe that if there would be avocado where wolf is, if it's hungry, it's gonna grab avocado. Not when it has other type of food. If it has meat available, of course it's gonna go for a meat. In this omnivore group also belongs, for example, horse. We people think, oh, it's a herbivore. Horse is not a herbivore. Horse you can feed with meat and with blood, and it will thrive. Just look at horses in Arabia. Where do they graze? In Sahara. Bedouins have horses, right? What do they eat? So, horse is omnivore also. And humans as an omnivore, we are much closer to bear than we are to horse, because we have a small acidic stomach. And horses have large stomach, which can become acidic when needed, but also, if not needed, it can store a lot of vegetation and it can ferment it. But what happens is that how we are programmed that whenever we bite into something, we squirt acid, and then when the content starts coming through our system and our body can check through it, it realizes, whoa, this does not require acid. It's not animal fat or protein, so it stops producing acid. And this actually goes even for herbivores. Cow, you can actually give cow meat and cow will eat it. And when cow eats meat, it doesn't go into fermentation sac, into rumen, but it goes into the digestive stomach, the proper stomach. So, saying that humans should not be eating meat, that we should eat fruits, this is bollocks. This is someone's imagination. Okay, so, and every animal can actually eat other animal, and will nourish itself by doing so. And not every animal can survive eating only plants. And although we are very adjustable because of our genetics, the adjustment needs a bit of time, and then you cannot mix. And this is what we do mostly. We mostly mix. We have a little bit of meat and a little bit of vegetables. So you are confusing the system. It cannot really attach itself on one or on the other side. It's like sitting on two chairs, and then of course you're uncomfortable because they are not the same. And even in Indian Ayurveda, understanding of health, they claim that the worst possible diet is actually what is our regular diet, is combining carbohydrates and meat. And how many of us did, before we switched to carnivore diet, did we ever eat meat without bread or without potatoes? It never happened. I thought that how could people live without bread in the past? You know, how could they eat meat without bread? Well, we are duped into doing so. And it's a different digestive process that happens when you eat meat and fats and when you eat plant stuff. And simply by looking at plant, when you see plant, you are looking at carbohydrate. Plant has very little protein. Plant is basically carbohydrate. Same like animal has very little of carbohydrate. It's basically fat and protein. Plant is the contrary, the opposite. So the structural part of a plant is basic cellulose. It's the fiber of a plant. Okay, so we don't have cellulose in our body. Plus, we cannot even digest it because we do not produce enzyme necessary for it, for breaking down cellulose, which is a cellulase enzyme. And when you eat plant raw, you really cannot break the fiber. So only what becomes available to you is what is in the juice. So juicing would appear to be okay, that's good. Yeah, but in a juice there is not enough nutrition. And there used to be minerals. They would give the fruits, for example, the taste and smell. But today, fruits have no taste and no smell. So means that they have no minerals. Why? Because we are giving them, we are not using minora anymore for re-establishing mineralization of the soil. We just give them artificial growing stuff and no minerals. So what do you expect? You don't get nothing. You get water with very few minerals and not enough that you will lose by urinating what came with the food that you have to eliminate. And when you urinate, what is the urine? It's your blood plasma. So you urinate a pint of urine, well, you have pint less of a blood in your body. Your blood cells are more condensed, but you have less blood plasma. And you need to replenish now these minerals. They have to come from somewhere. In the past, people were basically eating animal product and with bread or with vegetables, and those who did not have any animals, at least they had some eggs and milk. But now when we go into extremes and you go into the vegetarianism and veganism, you don't get any of it. Plus, now the vegetables and fruits have way less minerals, so you don't even get minerals. And even in the past, when there was enough mineral, domestic herbivores that only eat grass and stuff, greens, they needed to be supplemented with salt because they could not go and scavenge and look for salt because they live on a designated space. Now it's way worse because salt is nowhere to be found, and not surprisingly, United Nations are actually giving stimulant packages to countries that use minimal amount of salt. So it is to politicians' benefit to cut salt consumption in its country because he's going to get a lot of money from the United Nations. So everything is geared against us, and we are being schooled the wrong way just so we don't know the truth and we accept it. And this is why we are all getting sick. So when we go into diet, if you really want to know what is the best food to eat, you have to go quantum to understand who you are and why, what is the food that you are eating. And you will understand that everything is based on frequency. And when you understand this, this means that every time food changes something, well, frequency change, because every attribute of a food is a frequency. Smell, taste, the way it looks, the color, it all based on frequencies. So when you take a, I don't know, piece of meat, let's say it's a pork steak. Well, it has particular smell on pork. It's red, has a white fat, whatever, how properly resonating piece of meat looks like. It's from the animal was killed, but no frequency was changed. Or you take carrot, and now you start heating them up, what happens? All of a sudden, they start smelling differently. Carrots changes the smell, meat changes the smell. Then you see change in the color. They all start getting darker, brownish, and then black. Why? Brown and black are low vibrating colors. They are actually toxic, symbols for toxicity. When who reads auras looks at you and finds a dark spot in your aura, dark gray or black, black is cancer. Okay, it's a very bad frequency. So meat is changing this, so is carrot. Now why do they change this? Because heat changed the vibrational point of whatever you are heating up, and when it skips octave, everything about it changed. All the frequencies that designate it change. You still know it's a carrot because the shape is there, but color changed, the smell changed, the taste changed, the density changed, everything about it changed because it's no longer the same frequency. And now you put it into your body, close to your cells. The closer it comes to your genetic material, the more it starts in pushing pressure on it. It's a frequency. Everything is auric field. We call it electron shield. It's not electron, this is a baloney science of physics. There is no such a thing as electron shield. It's electromagnetic field or aura, as we call it. And everything has it. Even stone has it. Everything has aura because everything is based on electromagnetic pulsation. Nobody tells us this, but it cannot, otherwise you don't have this reality. And when you start eating food that has it's like you bring violin from outside into your orchestra, which is your body, but before you put it in your orchestra, you string the strings a little tighter. It's still on its own, maybe okay, because you tune it to that higher density or tension, but then when you put it in orchestra that is tuned differently, well, it sticks out like a sore thumb, and the whole music becomes aggravating. The thing is that our cells can maintain stable frequency. The higher voltage they have, the more resistant they become to change this frequency, and you don't get affected. How do you lower the voltage? Somebody scares you, for example, or you start having some bad thoughts, you're preoccupied about something, your brain becomes overly active, draws all the energy, and now you have a weaker electric voltage, which makes the aura weaker. And now it's easier to be pushed and shifted by what you have in your body, the out of tune instruments that you just ate because you heat them up. And nobody talks about cooked food. So you go to nutritionists and they are all about, well, this food, banana is a lot of carbohydrate, don't eat bananas, you're going to get fat, and this has that, and this has that. What about cooked food? Everything changes. Not only that the frequency is different, which means different characteristics, but also cellulose breaks down. So now sugar spills out. So knowing how to eat, well, this is science on its own, and it's actually very simple when you start understanding on a quantum level who you are and what is this reality. Then it's very simple to figure out, yeah, of course. If smell changed because of what I'm doing, obviously the frequency shifted because the frequency is directly related to the smell or to the color or to the softness of change, whatever is shifting in this. Again, once when you understand this, you don't need to be nuclear scientists to figure out that cooking food is bad. And this is why animals in nature, they don't have any problem with the chronic diseases or diseases in general. And we, humans, we are loaded with them, and our domestic animals, because how we treat ourselves, we treat our animals. Okay, so especially cats and dogs, cats used to at least catch occasional mouse, but my cats now, they bring dead animals and they lay them on the floor for us as a gift, because they eat such a great steaks in a house that why the heck they would eat some rat over there. So we spoil animals, and at least my animals eat quality food. But if you start giving them what veterinarian recommends, these pellets and the canned food, this all toxic stuff. Same as it's toxic to us. The store food is all garbage, toxic garbage. We have to go in a market and buy ourselves food and prepare it in the house. Okay, so, and then, what kicks me the most is now the campaign against antibiotics. And the worst thing that they say, well, antibiotics kill the gut flora. And every one of them goes, and we need gut flora. This is our secondary immune system. This helps us with serotonin and with our immune defenses and with the clarity of the brain. And you have to be pure idiot to say something like this. Why would doctors say something like this? They must be on take, or they must be really so brainwashed that they simply do not see the most obvious truth that is in front of their face. And that is that whenever you have a problem with digestion, you have diarrhea. When you have diarrhea, you eliminate all that crap out. And then you feel actually good and clear when you don't have this microbiome in your body. So again, nobody is watching. We are just thinking that what we are being told in the school, that this is exactly how things work, and then we try to build on it, and we start inventing things based on what we have been told in the school. And this is like building a castle on a shifting sand. Yeah, you build a couple of good blocks, and it all starts making sense until poof, the whole castle falls down because foundation is rotten. And that's our science. It's nothing to do with science. So things are very transparent as long as you are willing to open your eyes and actually neglect what you have been told. I had to let go of all my, I spent in the school years and years. I hated it, but I had to do it just to pass and get some diploma. And now diploma, it's a garbage, because I cannot use anything from it. It just showed me how misled I was with everything I was told, especially in medicine. Everything. So when it comes to the food, if you eat raw meat and raw fat, the acid that you have in your stomach that you will create is going to break it down very rapidly. Just take, let's say, any kind of acid with pH 2 or 3 and put piece of meat in there. I mean, it starts boiling, and within minutes it's gone. Well, same happens in our stomach. But so you don't even need the rest of the digestive tract. This is why carnivores have much shorter digestive tract, because the whole digestion happens in the stomach. It all the proteins break down in amino acids, and fats break down into fatty acids, and there is a transporter then that comes into small intestine, the first 12 inches of it, the very beginning on the stomach, that where everything is being absorbed. So there is no more digestion going on in the rest of the intestine. So you don't need any flora or nothing to break it. Of course, when you cook the food, when you cook the meat, what happens? The protein breaks and loses water. So the whole meat shrinks because it lost water, which makes the protein dense. And even when you chew it, you swallow it, but you still have these dense clumps. And when they go into acid, the acid comes on the outside, but because the meat is so dense, it cannot really penetrate. And it doesn't stay in this acid for a long time because our stomach does not have acid floating there indefinitely, because the acid is problematic for our stomach as well. But as acid is being produced in the lining of the stomach, at the same time sodium bicarbonate is produced to protect the lining. And as the food is sitting there with acid on it, it's touching the alkaline borders and gets neutralized. So very quickly on the outside, all the pieces of meat that you ate become neutralized, and acid did not penetrate, so the digestion is not really complete. And within 2 hours, the stomach is completely neutral, and the content starts getting pushed into your intestine, and it is not digested. Then you start creating bacteria. Fortunately, we create what we call the good bacteria, because they are lactic bacteria, lactobacillus, and bacteria that will attack meat, because lactobacillus we have because we are mammals. So we used to drink milk, so you will have them. But if you start eating plants, everything changes, because when you eat plants, you don't need lactobacillus. So lactobacillus will die. There is no food for it. There's nothing for it to do, and you will start creating different bacteria that can break whatever you are eating, and most of it will be creating gas and problem. But you don't have rumen. You have acidic stomach, so bacteria should not be living there. And when you swallow it, yes, in the intestines it becomes neutral or slightly alkaline. You can ferment, but by the time some fermentation happens, your content is already in a big intestine, and there is no reabsorption of proteins or fats or any of it, except water and minerals. So the digested stuff that you can actually benefit from, the fermented stuff, well, is your excrement. And this is why there are certain animals who also have a small acidic stomachs, but because of circumstances, they eat more plant. So what they happen to do, they eat their own excrement, because they understand that this carries more nutrition than the food that they ate. Capybara here in South Africa, in Amazon region, capybara is one of these animals. They regularly eat the excrement. Okay, so and it's known that people in certain places were eating excrement as well, because they felt they get more nourishment from it. Yeah, if you don't eat meat, if you eat plants, and you don't have fermentation, sac and small stomach. Gorilla can ferment. Look at his belly, his huge belly, and they constantly eat. So they have to constantly nibble, constantly eat to provide. Hunters cannot eat constantly. We cannot be digesting constantly because we have to run, we have to be agile. When you are digesting, you lose a lot of energy into digestion. So we are different type of an animal. And basically, we can survive on almost anything because our body can readjust. And we know it because we are all tricked into glucoholic or carboholic bodies because we start using sugar as a cellular unit for energy, which we are not even programmed to do unless we are in a stressful situation. So body can improvise, but every improvisation will cost you something. You know, you gain something, you lose something. And longer you do it, your body will start going to show you shortcomings. Now, do you have any particular question about what I said?
I mean, it was amazing so far. Just to simplify everything, what would you say the best diet is, and what is the worst diet for humans specifically?
For human, the best diet would be raw meat, raw animal products, raw meat, raw eggs, even blood. But again, we understand not human blood because human blood is toxic as hell. So animal blood, yeah, and dairy, milk and cheese, yogurt, sour milk, all that stuff. That's basically fermented milk. So that's all help to us. And when we are at it, it's important to understand because a lot of people say, well, if I drink milk, it's going to take me out of ketogenic state. This is not true because the lactose in a milk, this carbohydrate does not break into glucose and galactose as we are being told. This is lie. It is actually under enzyme lactase. It is going to form a fiber. And this fiber gives consistency to a stool. This is why babies that drink mother's milk, they have pasty stool. Where does this pasty stuff come? From lactose. If they were supposed to receive glucose, then mother would have glucose in the milk. Why would body complicate to make first lactose and then break it down into this and then absorb it like two different? It's nonsense. We can prove that this happens chemically, so we say, oh, this is what happens because it serves the narrative we want to say, but this is not really what happens in reality. So babies on milk, on mother's milk, they are always in ketogenic state. They would be in glucoholic state if this would be the case that they are receiving energy from lactose. This is not true. This is just fiber so they can evacuate better. For evacuation, we need fiber. This is why carnivores eat meat in chunks, because the connective tissue takes longer to break down and very often doesn't break down completely, even in acid, and because it's very dense, it's very tight. And then it serves to pull the excrement. We don't need fiber from plants to do this for us. So, so when you eat meat, don't worry about chewing it. Yeah, I like the juice, so I chew it, but I don't really break it because we don't have teeth to break, to cut. So you cut it in pieces that you can actually swallow, you squeeze it a couple of times and swallow it. And body will digest it. Mincing meat, it's not as healthy as we think it is, just because you cut the fiber. So for evacuation, it's not a problem when we are on cell healers protocol because we drink a lot of plasma, so we actually trigger detox and diarrhea, and this flushes the intestine. But if you are not in a cell healing process, if you just want to eat meat, then it's better not to have mincemeat because you will easier go into constipation. Because how the intestine move, I don't know if you ever saw, young generation probably does not know this, elastic in your pants or underwear. It used to be a loop of fabric, and then with a needle you put in elastic, and then you thread the needle through the loop and push it. Well, this is how actually grab and pull. This is how intestine pushes the contents, and it needs some fiber to grab on. If there is no fiber to grab on, it's just macerating. You're just doing this. So it needs fiber that to grab and and just to kind of pull it. So when you eat meat, try, if you want it to be in smaller pieces, it's better to use meat food processor, because food processor gives you uneven pieces. So you can use this. When my wife prepares, let's say, a steak tartare, she doesn't use mincemeat. She cuts the meat with a knife in smaller pieces, but it's not minced. And occasionally, because we buy for our animals sometimes mincemeat because it's the cheapest, then we tell the butcher to run it only once, because usually they run like 3 times through a machine, because people like it like a butter. No, bigger chunks the better. Okay, so if you want to make yourself steak tartare and you don't want to waste time chopping with knife, then tell the butcher to run the meat through machine only once, to have a bigger chunks, as big as possible. And this is proper way of eating. Of course, having it, let's say, seared or stir-fried, it's okay as long as you maintain the meat juicy. If it stays juicy, it means that it didn't coagulate and your acid will still go through it and do pretty good job of breaking it down. So that's all about how to eat and what to eat. This is the best stuff. We can eat fruits, some of it, not all of the fruits, but we know that there are some crazy mushrooms and there are some poison apples that you eat and you die. So we know what not to eat, but in general, apples and bananas and pears, all that stuff, it's okay to eat if it has nice smell to it, that it smells like apple. If it doesn't smell like nothing, why would you eat it? There's nothing in there except water and probably some fallout from chemtrails. So why to eat it?
Yeah, and then I just want to say, what is the worst diet for humans? And then Leon has a question.
Well, the worst diet would be the combination of starches and overdone meat. So you overcook the meat and then you eat, let's say, overdone steak with the fried potatoes, or some rice, or yuca, whatever they have here, the root vegetable that resembles starch. It's basically pure starch when it's heated. Okay, so this combination is the worst. Having meat as little cooked as possible, and with salad, this is doable. But a lot of stuff, especially the aromatic stuff, like spices, this actually is toxic, more than lettuce. We know, for example, and I saw just advertising on one video, someone giving their dog meat with spinach. Spinach is toxic, especially for dogs. And dog will have the same reaction like they have parvo. Okay, why? Because of freaking poison in spinach. I had when my sailor, my Portuguese water dog was a little puppy. By mistake, my wife, ex-wife, she put down a dish where there was some mashed potato and a little bit left over of spinach that I prepared for my wife and I. And he licked it and he got diarrhea, was stinking like crazy. And I right away said, well, when did he get parvo? Because at that time I didn't know. For me, most of this, what I'm talking about, is fairly new knowledge. And I took it with me to my work to check with my friend Red to make tests. And yeah, it's parvo, it's parvo. Now when I think about it, of course it was not parvo. I know that he ate what he ate and why this happened. Okay, parvo doesn't exist. So anyone who has animals, when they go, that's parvo, no. Something was in the food they ate, and this is what caused the problem. And again, colloidal silver, water with sea salt, flush it out, and dog will be fine. It is what finishes the job is the antibiotics and all that toxic treatment that we put to the dogs. Same is with us, with humans. Doctors create more harm than good because, again, we are not being told the truth. So doctors have no clue about how the body works and what is actually happening.
Yeah, I know Leon has a question, so you can unmute yourself and ask that question.
So when I consume blood, I find that there's also a lot of fiber in my stool, and my stool is very dark. Is there some kind of, just like meat has fiber, does blood have the same thing?
Well, blood has proteins in it, and they do form fiber. I don't know if you had a chance to watch the African tribes where they do not really kill their livestock, but they use their blood. So they poke the vein and they drain the blood, and as they swirl it, they actually don't drink the blood, but they drink all the fats and proteins that will stick to the stick that they eat. And it actually becomes a fiber. Remember that blood has a lot of platelets. They form coagulant. So it's a process of partially coagulation, but also there is a fiber in the blood, which will not be digested as well as the fats and proteins, which are not part of this fibrous tissue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was surprising to me as my dairy stool. So when it comes from dairy, the lactose, it's of course like a pretty decent bolus of lactose, and the blood was exactly the same, just a way darker color. So that was apparent to me. Also, I had a question about dogs eating grass. Like a lot of modern dogs, especially when they're fed a poor diet, they will consume grass. This is their natural purging method, just like we consume plasma.
Dogs. You asked about dogs?
Yeah, dogs eating grass.
Okay, because I was not sure goats or dogs. Oh. Okay, so every carnivore, including cats as well, if they have digestive issue, they will smell the plants around and they know exactly what plant to take as medicinal remedy to cleanse them of whatever problem they have. This is innate even to us. This is how these medicine men in forest, how they work. They are tuned to this nature and they can feel what exactly has to be used. And it is done through smell more than anything else. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you notice ever a cat walking on the grass and then stops and smells and starts smelling some stuff, because it is being attracted by that odor, and right away the body is processing. It is something that she should take or not, because she has hairballs or something to eliminate. So they innately know this. We also innately know this, but we are disconnected. Our brains are too busy to pay attention. So then we depend on these few people who are still around, who are better tuned to nature than we are.
Mm-hmm. So they eat it to cause diarrhea.
To basically cleanse the intestines.
Mm-hmm.
We give them mincemeat. This doesn't go very well through, so this helps them also cleanse the stuff.
Okay, thank you.
One thing I want to talk about is the carnivore diet. It's becoming very popular. Like you said before, the overcooked meat. A lot of these people in the carnivore diet, they're overcooking their meat and they're not hydrating, and they pretty much fail the carnivore diet. They eat vegetables later on, and then they get a lot of criticism for that. Do you have any thoughts about that?
Well, I see there is another doctor, I think he's a Dr. Joachim something, and he was, some people put attention asking me what I think about him, but he has only private channels, so I cannot go onto his videos and watch what he's all about. But a little bit what I've seen in article that he published, he also does not understand very well the whole digestive system. And the main part is salt. Because they say, well, before we didn't need salt, before people did not carry salt. Well, what are you talking about? People of how far back are you going? Because I know that Roman soldiers were paid in salt because it was the easiest way to trade the salt for anything else, because it was like money, and this is where salary comes from, salario, okay, paid in salt. So salt was always valued commodity. And in the past, again, we ate a lot more meat, so we did not need to use so much salt. But more plants you eat and less meat you eat. Plants, especially today, they don't have any minerals. You have to eat them with the salt. And many vegans have a problem, not so much with malnourishment, but with the desalination problem. They simply don't have enough salt, so which means they cannot have enough blood, because they need salt to make the blood electroconductive. And if you don't have enough salt, body releases the water, and this is the end of the body. And the vegans are more so against salt than meat eaters, because meat eaters, I don't know, they have at least a little bit more open mind than vegans, so, but still, I see that Joachim, for example, talks against salt. Yeah, it's a rock mineral, it's inorganic. Stop with the nonsense of inorganic and organic, because we are 80% of water, and water is inorganic too, so what are you trying to say? Then they say, oh, it's a pure water that body creates. Well, if you put pure water in the body, you die instantly, because there is no electrolyte in it. Pure water is a distilled water, it's clean water. I don't know whatever structure you want to put it, but it doesn't have mineral. So it is not electroconductive. You die instantly. So those are a lot of people are hearing a little bit information here, a little bit there, and then to try to connect it with what we are being told in the school to make the whole picture, and this becomes misleading. You have to stop with everything that you have been indoctrinated with and start observing. Why does goat climb those rocks and to go and lick wherever it's oozing of the black tar, of the, what is that? That's a humic acid, but not because it's humic acid, but because it's a decomposed plant. So there is some minerals from decomposed plant, concentration of it. Plant, I don't know, takes maybe whole tree to make a little bit of this mineral of humic acid. Okay, so goats know where to go, what to do, where to lick the salt. So do elephants, they know where to go. Every herbivore knows that they need salt, and they go and they stack on the salt. Camel, before camel drinks water, they are given salt, or they are given seawater to drink, and then drink regular water. So they increase the blood level, so then camel can last for a long time in a dry environment, because by its design, camel is designed to save water. So it will urinate only once a day. Concentrated urine smells like a hell, because that's how it's designed to do, to survive. So before going on any longer walk through Sahara, camel drinks like 40 liters of water, 50 liters. And where does water go? In the blood. And it can only be there if it's bonded with salt, otherwise it can't. So camel needs salt. But we skip these little details. We just tell stories that are going to promote our ideas, and we ignore the full truth, and that this is problem.
Yeah, I have so many posts on my page about pretty much every topic you spoke about in this video. So if anybody wants to see more detail, go on my page and view it from there. I want to ask you a question because I posted a video and it was controversial. I spoke about garlic being neurotoxic and toxic in general. Can you talk about that quickly? We only have about like 8 minutes left also.
Well, I didn't know about toxicity of a garlic until I heard about Dr. Robert Beck. He was a physicist, not medical doctor, but he did a lot of equipment for medical industry. And one of his friends, professor, asked him if he can make a machine that is going to register the activity of the brain. So he designed these monitors, and they had several people, students, to work on this project, and they were tested for the plasticity and the production of thought, the activity of the brain. And in the morning, all these units worked perfectly. And after lunch, when the students came back, well, half of the units would not work at all. They did not lit, like the brain is dead. And he said, well, what is this? Then they put the guy whose monitor is working, they had him sit behind the one that's not working. Now this monitor is working again. So must be something that these people ate. So he told them, okay, make sure that you write down everything you eat. And they figured out at the end, everyone who ate garlic, their brain was dead. They were brain dead when they returned after eating garlic. A little bit of garlic in the food. And when Saint Bob Beck created blood electrifier machine, pulsar, then noticed also, if you ate a little bit of garlic and you pulsate, all of a sudden you start feeling drunk, you cannot put words together, you get blurred vision. This is all poisoning of the nerve system of the brain. So he figured out that basically the cells must be protecting themselves from a garlic, because when you eat the garlic and you don't feel these problems, but if you electrify your blood, what you achieve? You achieve osmotic pump. You're activating osmotic pump. So you start really hydrating your cells. And when the garlic starts coming into your cells, into the brain cells, you have same exactly consequence of drinking alcohol. You poison your cells. And it happened to me. Also, when I started using Pulsar, one day my wife forgot, and she put just a little bit garlic in a stew that she made. And I was not even pulsating. It was after pulsation. And I ate some garlic and I start feeling strange. So I want to get up and I'm missing the handle. I still lived on a boat at that time. And I tried to get to the phone and I cannot walk, like I'm on a rough seas and I'm in harbor. And finally I take a telephone and I cannot dial the numbers. So luckily there was the auto dial. So I managed to find her name, I push it. And then when she came on the line, I tried to ask her, and I started laughing because I could not put words together, like I smoked marijuana or something. I was completely goner from a little bit of garlic in food when I was clear of garlic. I was not eating it for maybe a month already, and I was cleansing. So my absorption, cellular absorption, was very strong. And when this little garlic was there, it took my cells probably 15 minutes to shut down the absorption. Well, by then I was already completely drunk from garlic. And everybody can try it. You know, just get this little pulsar, this big device, and have a little bit of garlic in your food and put it on, and you will see, you'll get drunk like a skunk. This is the best way if you want to get drunk and you don't have money for more than one beer. You get one beer, you drink beer, you put pulsar on, and you are under the table in a minute. Okay, because the cells will not close down. They start absorbing your blood and they absorb all the alcohol. This is the protection we have. I learned a lot from this experiment myself. Okay, so garlic is very neurotoxic. And now I understand why my grandmother lost her eyesight so rapidly when she was having every night big, small spoon, but loaded with chopped of garlic, and then a spoon of olive oil after that. But this garlic, terrible. They say, oh, it's great, you see, it lowers blood pressure. Yeah, but how? Because it slows down your nervous system. It slows down the impulse of contraction. So instead of your heart going chum, and creates this pressure, the heart goes like yushi, whooshy, smooshy. Of course, there's no pressure going, but also this is very bad for your circulation. Okay, so garlic is really terrible stuff. We should not eat garlic, and it's highly absorbable. It goes to blood-brain barrier like nothing. Same happens with the mothers. It goes through placenta like nothing, poisoning the fetus. And you can, with barefoot, you can step on a garlic. In less than 10 minutes, you have it in your breath. It absorbs through the skin, through the tissue, into the blood, into your brain, and goes through your lung. It starts coming up. All within 10 minutes. It's terrible. It's medicinal remedy. And we are not supposed to eat medicinal remedies every day. And here, where I am, in the Amazonia here, you cannot find one dish that is prepared without garlic. They are selling bags and bags of garlic. People think it's cat's meow, it's the healthiest stuff because we are being told so. It's natural antibiotic. No, it's natural poison. That's what it is.
Yeah, so we've run out of time, but that was amazing. Yeah, thank you for clarifying that on garlic. We'll have to pick this up in a part 2. Someone said that maybe we can pay for to extend the call with like a Google Premium. If you guys want to all donate, everybody chips in, we'd be more than willing to do that. But again, thank you so much, Darko, always for your time. God bless you. God bless everyone here. And yeah, everyone enjoy the rest of your day. I know this is about to cut out, so enjoy the rest of your day, guys. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you, Darko.
Thank you. God bless us all.
We'll pick up on part 2. Take care, guys.
Ciao.